Imagine this. A guest is planning a trip to your city, but instead of opening Airbnb or Vrbo, or even going to your website, they never leave Google. Google shows them flight deals. Google builds their entire itinerary. Google suggests activities, neighborhoods, restaurants, and yes, eventually, even places to stay. And the most dangerous part? The guest trusts Google more than anyone else. This week, Google didn't just add some travel tools. They rolled out an AI engine that can plan a trip from start to finish globally without the traveler ever touching an OTA, a listing site, or maybe even your brand. For the SDR world, this isn't another feature update. It's a shift in control. Today on The Check-In, we're breaking down what Google's new AI travel push really means for hosts, for operators, for booking channels, and for the future of how guests even find a place to stay. Because if Google becomes the gatekeeper for travel, everyone else becomes a supplier.
Welcome back to The Check-In. So last week, with our debut episode, we talked about the Sonder Marriott meltdown and all of the aftermath of that. We'll keep coming back to you with any updates that we get over the next few weeks as that continues to unfold. So Sarah DuPre and Leo Walton back here with you for this next episode of The Check-In, where today we are going to explore Google Travel AI. It's what everybody's talking about. There were even some negative impacts on some of the OTAs, or so, especially Booking and Expedia's stock, I hear, yesterday, which we'll get into with
The
our
market moved.
The market moved just as we thought it would. So today we're going to talk about how this is going to shift the booking funnel. Here with us today, an old friend of the show. Super glad to have him back, Boris Pavlov from Flataway. And Boris is perfect for this conversation because he is the founder and CEO of a company that already does AI in the short-term rental space. So Boris's company is responsible for helping operators create their own direct booking websites and using AI to drive more direct bookings. Of course, a massive part of this is going to be that distribution funnel. So without further ado, let's bring Boris into the episode. Thanks so much for joining us, buddy.
Hi, guys. Super happy to be here.
Hey, Boris. How are you, buddy?
I'm so excited to see you.
Me too. Really looking forward to that one.
Boris, I've got to say it, and we're all thinking it. You're looking a bit fresher than the last time we saw you. How's fatherhood treating you?
Amazing. Especially these last 2 days. I've gotten 8 hours of sleep. But you know, my wife and my son are not at the house. They went to her mom's place. So I guess, yeah, that's how it feels.
There you go. That's the secret to being a happy dad, right? Is that you send your kids away for a couple of days a week. Or you can do what I do, which is you travel. Make sure you travel a lot. And then that really helps as well, right? Let's hope Jasmine's not listening.
It's conference season. So I did got to travel a lot. And there's so much going on, especially in the world of AI, where we're deeply involved, that I'm usually up at night, either taking care of the baby or doing AI stuff.
Well, as Sarah said, you're the perfect person to have on this week to talk about this subject. Tell us a bit. I mean, look, we've had you on before in our previous podcast. So it's so great to have you back. You're going to be a regular contributor, which we're really excited about. Tell us what you're up to. Tell us about the business you're building, and I think it explains why you're really qualified to be on with us today.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, long story short, I'm a former property manager. I started with 0 units, scaled to about 800. And sold the company a while back. And ever since I did that, it's been my mission in life to help property managers become less dependent on OTAs. And now with AI appearing, I feel like this is the missing piece of the puzzle. And we're finally on the verge of becoming independent as property managers on OTAs, on all intermediaries. So with Flataway.ai, we're trying to, create the actual tools and products to enable this, to enable that mission, to empower property managers to be the actual source when a guest wants to book. And to do that, we have a couple of ways of doing that. We have the AI website builder. We have these integrations we're trying to build. And I'm saying trying because nobody really knows how to do that today. But we're trying to plug this supply into ChatGPT, into Perplexity, and all these places that we've started going the past year or two that didn't exist before. So super exciting times. I do think that this is the most exciting time for travel in the past couple of decades, ever since OTAs appeared. So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Brilliant. Well, I feel like you're the right person at the right place at the right time. I agree. Distribution has never been more up for grabs within our working lifetime. When I started at One Fine Stay, that's when Airbnb was growing, right? And we were trying to grow a short-term rental management business and a distribution arm at the same time. And even with all the funding and the journey that business went on, they ultimately ceded control of their own distribution to OTAs. It happened. It was part of that process. Now the floor has moved and the game has changed. Sarah, tell us a bit more about what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, so let's talk about what Google just did and why the stakes are so high. So Google has long since had this AI-powered flight deals, especially in the US, but this has now been expanded globally. At the same time, Canvas, which is part of Gemini, for those of you who are less AI adept like me and didn't know what Canvas was, Canvas has been launched in AI mode. So there's now a total trip builder, which includes flights, hotels, and activities. So you input kind of what you're looking for, and it'll suggest an entire itinerary for you. This is being piloted right now in the US. I'm curious to see how long it takes us to get this in Europe with GDPR and some other restrictions that I can think about around users entering information about what they're looking for and kind of who's traveling and things like that. So we'll see how long it takes to be launched globally, but I can't imagine it will take too long, as things in AI tend to take 2 days rather than 25 years. And with all of this, it's really clear, or we thought it was clear. I'll let Boris go into what Google's statement was on this, but we thought it was pretty clear that Google's goal is search, plan, and book. So having everything be done inside Google. Users have long used Google as a search engine, sort of in the planning stage as well, looking at what should I do and looking for finding blogs and things like that you might use to plan your travel, which is what I do. But the booking side has been long evaded, I would say. And with this new update, it seems like they really are kind of coming after the OTAs. So yeah, Boris, I think I mentioned earlier, of course, the sort of drop in stock right after this announcement came out, but they're definitely coming after the OTAs, in my opinion.
Yeah, they said, and that was last night, that was super recent, after they made the announcement on AI mode and trip planning, a couple of hours later, they retracted it and they said, oh, wait, we're not going to become an OTA. Now, I would hate to be Google right now, because here's what's happening. You have the large language models, OpenAI, Perplexity, and all these guys. They are obviously going into travel because it's a major use case. At the same time, for them, it's a clean slate. They can do whatever they want because they don't have any relationships, any business relationships with the existing travel suppliers and OTAs, etc. However, Google, now let's not forget who's the biggest client of Google Ads. That's Booking.com. So for Google, it's different. They know they can enable the entire flow from search and discovery through booking. But if they did that, they would become direct competitors of the very clients that are paying them. So yeah, I really hate to be in their position right now. What they've launched essentially is the entire discovery until the point where you actually book. And they're saying, wait, we're not going to be merchant of record. We are going to let the user book directly with the supplier, but then the supplier is either the OTA or a large hotel chain directly. And at the same time, they're saying, oh, we're open to working with smaller companies like ours. So let's see how open they are, because I immediately reached out. Let's see how open they are, and let's see if they're gonna go through with it and they're literally going to go head to head with Booking, Expedia, and Airbnb, or they would still try and protect the business relationships they currently have. Still remain to be seen, but 2026, we're gonna get that answer, and it's going to be pivotal either way.
I think that's right.
Hunch, which is that it's going to continue to toe the party line, so to speak, until they've cracked the code. As soon as they've cracked the code, as soon as they can drive direct bookings, as soon as they can get commissions outside of the OTAs, all bets are off.
I agree. It has to be a staggered approach, right? You know, like right now they say so much of their revenue is ad revenue, and look at Google's share price, right? The Alphabet share price is completely fine, and the challenge for the other AI LLMs at the moment is how do they become profitable? How do they start to generate revenue. You're right to say, Boris, that it allows them to be more creative and lean about how they do it. But I still think I'd rather be in Google's shoes because they have those pre-existing relationships. So essentially right now they can use it as a way to showcase partners. And what I think is really interesting about the release, the announcement, is it does list partners. So who's it says, like, has IHG, Marriott, Booking.com gets referenced in another report. I saw Expedia being referenced. So that's no mistake, is it? That's somebody going, well, look, these are very, very high profile relationships. We need to bring them on the journey with us. And I think the interesting part of this is the challenge for the short-term rental industry, Boris, which I'd love you to dig into further, which is we don't have a Marriott, an IHG. We don't have flags like that because I know we have Casago and Pass the Keys and those type of businesses, but they are the exception, not the rule. And I think they will remain the exception, not the rule. So it's interesting to think about how do we get short-term rental businesses as partners, because that is going to be the reality. Is I think it's pretty clear that all Google will try and do is diversify its partner list, as Sarah said, to the point where they are then less reliant on the OTA. So right now the OTA is being squeezed. They're not being beaten into submission. They're just being squeezed. There will come a point where that squeezing continues. So yeah, I guess my first question, there's so many different ways we go with it, Boris, what do we need to do as operators in the short-term rental space to make sure we're also at the party? Because right now, clearly, hotels is a much easier place to start.
I completely agree with you. Hotels is an easier place to start, but they've been around for longer and there are more tech providers serving the hotel industry than the short-term rental industry. There is even one that's already made it possible for Perplexity, one of the major AI search engines, to connect directly to the source and perform direct bookings with hotels. So what's essential here to note is that, our industry is very fragmented. It's super fragmented. So we have a bunch of individual property managers scattered across the world, all using different PMSs, and the PMSs themselves are even not ready to integrate all of their supply into an existing LLM infrastructure or into Google even. That's the major problem. It's a technical problem. It's not that much of a business problem. There is no way for Google or a large language model to tap into direct inventory currently. So obviously we're working on that challenge, and I'm sure that other tech providers will start working on that challenge, how to facilitate the connection between the demand, the guest-facing app, whether it's Google or it's an LLM, that connection with the supply, the source, the direct booking. So it starts with the direct booking website. You definitely need to have that, but it's not enough. You need to expose, in a technical term, expose an endpoint, expose an MCP, or something that enables these models and these platforms to connect. So our best strategy right now is keep reading the news, keep listening to podcasts like this one, and stay informed. And as soon as there is a gateway to connect directly to the AI LLMs or to Google, just take advantage of that straight away so that you don't get left behind. And even large hotels, they don't have that yet. So it's a wide open space, and we need to see who's going to build these connections faster and better.
I still think there's a brand story to tell, though, right? I think, because you've got to think about what you're putting out there about your business, because that's going to help inform the LLM as well. So there's a technical and there's also a brand building exercise that people definitely need to go on. Sorry, before I let you go in, Sarah, my other thought is that what large companies do we have in the space that control a lot of inventory? It makes me think about the large PMSs. So I think that's also something we need to watch and be cognizant of, that there might be moves coming there. Perhaps Guesty, Hostaway, Hostfully, Hospitable, to name the biggest few, could be being courted by these big LLMs as well, because between them they have, let's say, over 2 million listings, right, or 1.5 million listings, perhaps. And so that is also a big bucket of properties which they know are likely to not be fraudulent, and they could also get them to sort of behave in the way they want and say that you have to use our payment gateway, so that the payment gateway gets them more easily automated in the booking process, which is what Google wants. They don't want to redirect you. They want to redirect you, but keep you within the ecosystem, right? And make that booking there. So yeah, I think that's another group we need to watch.
Yeah, and I'm just curious from Boris's perspective as our AI expert. It seems like you have a really good grasp on why this hasn't happened yet and sort of what the technical challenges are to get there as an industry. I'm curious about your predictions, given the rate at which AI is reinventing itself and growing, how long you think it's going to take for us to get there. And then once it's created, this is the bigger question, how long you think it's going to take for user adoption on the operator side?
Well, let's give a precise timeline here. I think 6 months. In 6 months' time, there will be a way for every professional property manager on a PMS to list their inventory directly with either an LLM or Google if they decide to complete the entire workflow. But let's see. The major problem right now is and that's coming from my tech team that have to connect to a bunch of PMSs. We've done 35 plus PMS integrations. Every single PMS has a completely different API. So imagine you're OpenAI, you're Sam Altman, and you want to get inventory. You need to go through the PMSs today, but the PMSs are all different. In one PMS, you call a property beachfront. On the other PMS, you call it seafront or sea view or all of that. So OpenAI is not going to go ahead and build integrations individually with every single PMS. They wouldn't do that. They would wait for there to be a universal, unified either API or MCP that allows them to quickly get bunch of inventory in one go and just support one integration, not so many, because that way, I don't know how many listings we have across the major PMSs. I guess about 1 million if you can count like the top 10, but that's still 10 completely different integrations, and the large companies are not going to do that. As for the adoption on the traveler side, I think OpenAI and ChatGPT, they have about 800 or 900 million weekly active users. That's a solid percentage of the global population already using ChatGPT every day. So I don't think there is going to be a problem. So that's going to happen relatively soon. And as soon as we have the booking flows figured out, that's going to happen. Adoption will happen. But what's more interesting and further down the line in the future is, are we actually going to use a chat as an interface to book? It's not very convenient, I think. What is it? What is that interface we're going to be using? It's not going to be something we've seen yet. There's a recent hire made by OpenAI, Johnny Ive, the guy who designed the iPhone. All of a sudden, he's working at OpenAI. Why is he working there? He's not building a new chatbot, I can tell you that. So in the future, there will be something new that we'll be using to access the internet and to interact with the digital environment. There is a very good signal for that. Another one, for decades, we've been using 4 browsers: Internet Explorer, Safari, Chrome, and Mozilla Firefox. There hasn't been a new browser in the last decade. This year alone, 3 new browsers. The browser, being the gateway to the internet, all of a sudden is challenged. So we're reimagining that. We're reimagining how we access the digital environment. And when you reimagine how to access digital environment as a whole, by extension, you're reimagining the booking flows when you're booking travel, right? I mean, that's just my take. I know it sounds a bit futuristic, but I think that's where we're headed in the next 2 to 3 years. We're gonna have different interfaces, maybe even devices.
I think that's right. I mean, I could believe your theory. What does that mean then for? Well, let's do this in order. What does that potentially mean for short-term rental property managers and brands that are trying to make sure that they get repeat guests and loyalty? And what does that mean for OTAs? Do you think in the long term?
Oh, I think OTAs are out of the equation. I'm sorry, but the fight is going to be between Google and Apple and companies like that with huge customer bases and trusted brands, and the new up-and-coming LLMs, AI agents that we're going to be using in our day-to-day lives. I don't think OTAs have a place, because as soon as we solve distribution, and that's a couple of months away from being solved, I don't see a place for any intermediary in any industry, not just travel. In any industry, an intermediary that just gets a solid percentage and does, well, nothing, because you already have the trust established, the information is out there, you already have the guardrails, and you already have these connections to the direct bookings for better rates. I don't see the purpose of an OTA. But I feel like also part of your question is what we can do today, right? As property managers, people in the industry, how can we prepare for that? There is, apart from staying in the loop and keeping tabs on what's happening in the industry in general, I think the best way to go about it is make sure you start building your brand. Something you, Leo, actually said earlier, start building your brand in a way that's readable by machines. That means have a website that's not just optimized for Google, but also optimized for the large language models to be able to read, have a sitemap, have these FAQ sections. Very, very simple thing, by the way, how to make your website stand out for AI search. FAQ section, frequently asked questions, long tail with 40 to 60 word answers. That works like a charm. And it's something super easy that any property manager can do today. Just add this on the website. Hey, the best properties for families in South Haven, or why to visit South Haven with my family. Start writing these with 40 to 60 word answers, and these are going to get picked up by the LLMs. And they're going to think that you're a trusted authority, a brand that provides useful information for answering the questions that the users are asking the LLM. So that's a simple thing that can be done. So start
Brings
there.
us to an interesting question as well, Boris, which is the difference between Google, which traditionally is this sort of meta search where you have keywords that you might have. So otherwise, if there's not a blog that says these are the top 5 properties for people with families and children in Southampton, let's say, but really with AI and especially ChatGPT, but we'll see that with Gemini, I'm sure, as well soon, it's becoming not just a comparison, not just a meta search, it's a recommendation. And so their user loyalty and user trust really comes into the equation, and it completely changes the game. So I'm curious how you would think, in addition to some of these other prompts that can be put, maybe that's on the listing, maybe that's on the direct booking website, but how can operators and hosts in particular, some of the smaller guys, how can they compete? Because I'm excited about what it does for them, right? Because for Google, you have the big OTAs, you've got Booking.com, you've got Airbnb, you've got Expedia, they're all paying into the Google system. So with Google, I don't know if I trust it. Whereas with a platform like ChatGPT, it's more the Netflix model. So users are paying for access to ChatGPT. They expect unbiased results. That doesn't mean that a ChatGPT or an OpenAI, something like that, isn't going to double dip. I think they could, and that could ruin the whole thing from my perspective of the user trust. But I'm curious what we can do sort of in both scenarios as operators to prepare for what's coming.
Yeah, I mean, work on the brand, work on the brand and establish yourself as an authority in the market you're operating in. And that's done via a couple of ways with data and information that is visible to humans and that is trusted by humans. That includes your reviews. So your reviews from other platforms, they should be on your website. That includes very detailed descriptions of your properties that are the same across OTAs and the same, all of the OTAs and your direct booking website. You need to have the exact same descriptions because travelers are becoming more and more savvy and they are looking to book direct. So these things are just the basics, the fundamentals. Then do the technical side of the website. Make sure that you have machine readable information. And at this point, you're prepared to be discovered. Now, discovery is one thing. Booking is another thing. And Sam Altman, something that he said very, very recently, he wants to do a one-click booking. What does that mean in ChatGPT? Well, that means, first of all, he needs to integrate with a bunch of PMSs, or there would be a new way to do it. And second, he believes that it's possible for someone to just like type a long prompt and then make a booking. I'll be very curious to hear your thoughts on that. Would you just do that one-click booking? Would you skip the discovery part and just trust a short answer from the LLM and then just do a booking immediately based off on that? Would you do it?
Yet. But if the process went something like this, so over the next few months, because I thought I even do this, and I've had many fights with ChatGPT because it recommends things that don't exist. So if, for example, it worked like a conversation. So the other day I was working on sort of a personalized like fitness and nutrition plan because I keep getting conflicting advice from my nutritionist at the gym and my nutritionist that I have outside. And so put everything into ChatGPT. This is the plan this one gave me. This is the plan this one gave me. What are the differences? And tell me what questions you would need to help identify what's the best plan for me. So I think if that's the conversation and an OpenAI or a Gemini in this case is able to say, hey, here are 3 examples of properties I think might be a good fit. Which one more aligns with what you're looking for? And you can say, okay, option A. Great. What is it about option A that you like the best? These are the differentiating features. These are the things that are most important. Okay, here's a list of 10 things. I want you to tell me 1 through 10 what's important or if none of them are important. So if it's really crafted to what I'm looking for and they've proven that they can make that decision properly for me. And also, once you book one trip, if it's not a total disaster and you're like, oh my gosh, this saved me so much time, then great. Why wouldn't you? I mean, the amount of time that I spend booking my holiday, it was a really interesting stat. I don't know where it came from. We talked about it ages ago, where people spend more time planning their holiday than they do actually on holiday. And I think that was especially true when people would take 1 or 2 holidays a year. But now that we're traveling much more often, this is a really interesting proposition, because what it really means is that we don't have to do all the legwork, because part of that equation was that people were enjoying the holiday before they were on holiday, while they were planning about it, while they were doing the planning. That was part of the enjoyment. Whereas if that equation's taken out, it actually, I think, means we're going to travel more, because we're not getting that high of planning the trip. We're saving time, but we're going to need to travel more often. And if it's easy and it's with the click of a button, and especially if you have a tool like OpenAI or Gemini, if we decide we're going to trust those results, that they're not paid advertising, then if you know and you can trust that they're finding you the best option for you and for your family or for whoever you're traveling with, and at the best price, I think that's the key determining factor, then all bets are off. I think people are going to travel way more. So over tourism, here we come.
Well, you say over tourism, here we come, or we can be the optimists and say we're going to find even harder to reach destinations through this amazing AI agentic conversation, right? You know, like, hey, find me somewhere that isn't overpopulated in 2026. Well, no one's going to Madeira. Flights are cheap. I can book them for you right now. So
more areas to ruin with tourism. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's what I like to say. It's the osmosis effect, right? Can we get everybody in and spread? Let's see. I'm with Sarah. See, it was a great question, Boris. First and foremost, I think all humans love conversations. So we love being that's the beauty of it, right? Like the browsing era, the browser era didn't quite give you what you wanted. Now, I'm old enough and well, we're all old enough to remember the first time we used a search engine. It was very early days. You would ask the search engine questions, then pretty quickly you realize that wasn't what you were supposed to do with the search engine, right? Ask Jeeves, Lycos, all those different engines that were around when we were growing up, we were coming up through the ranks. That's essentially what OpenAI, ChatGPT is doing, Gemini's doing. So I think the trust will come slowly. I think you'll get it to book smaller things for you, but eventually you would want to just be interfacing in one place. We all travel a lot for work. When I'm landing at Austin Airport or Las Vegas Airport, as the plane hits the tarmac, I want to be talking to ChatGPT, telling them to make sure that there's an Uber waiting for me as I leave the terminal, right? I then want to make sure that someone from the short-term rental that I've booked, potentially through ChatGPT, is also able to message me within that space. Isn't that great? We're potentially democratizing it. So the walls that have been built, the tech walls that have been built very cleverly by the likes of Airbnb, come crashing down if Joe Blogg's host with 1 or 2 listings in Las Vegas is able to interact with me directly as I'm booking my Uber, also able to interact with me and go, by the way, Leo, the code is this, and there's a bottle of wine in the fridge for you. And that, I think, should win. I don't want to make predictions, but I'm just as like thinking about it as a sort of a user of these technologies. That should win because essentially I'm lazy and I just want I want it all taken care of with just a conversation. So as long as I can trust the payment gateway, fraud is not a consideration, because that would be the thing that puts me off is my card being compromised in some way, shape or form? Can this be hacked? All those sorts of technical questions, all those cybersecurity questions aside, I'm going to do it. And the more enjoyment I get from it, the more I will do it. And Sarah's exactly right. I definitely take a lot of joy in planning that holiday. So the first thing I'm going to do when I get back from my holiday is say to the LLM, that was a fantastic holiday. Can you find me something similar, but with this, and this difference next year? So it becomes that like ongoing conversation about it.
Brings an interesting question for Boris, kind of on the back of what you were saying, Leo, about how we like to interact with search engines by asking questions, because we're humans and that's the way that we think. So we don't historically think we had to learn how to put things into Google to get the right kind of search results. So this begs the question, if AI and asking questions in a more human way is the way we're going, what does this look like? What does a listing even look like in an AI powered interface for us? What are the data points?
Yeah, that's exactly where we're going, actually. We used to have Google keywords and then the 10 blue links that appear. And that was our way of not obtaining the information we needed. It was our way of obtaining the sources for the information we needed. So now we've moved from getting to the sources to getting to the actual information, getting the answers straight away. Next step in the process, by the way, is action. We normally perform actions based on the information we get, whatever that information is. You obtain the information, you go through it, and then you perform some sort of an action. In the world of travel, that would be you get information about a specific place or a vacation rental, and then the action is actually booking it. So we're not there yet. That's the 6 months timeline. But we are at the stage where you can obtain all the information regarding a specific listing through an LLM. So all the information that you provide to the LLM must be A, human readable, and B, machine readable. And a lot of people are underestimating the second part. So the easier it is for the machine and for humans, of course, to sift through that information, the better. And we need to think as now we have the opportunity to think as a traveler who might be looking to book our place. Before we had to think of keywords and like very, very short phrases. Now we can think in long tail, long form. So why is a given property or my portfolio of properties, why is it perfect for traveler A or traveler B? Or what does traveler A exactly look for? The more precise you have it, the better, because imagine there's like 8 million properties out there in the world, and especially in very saturated markets, you need to find the one thing that is super special about your property, the one thing that makes it perfect for a very niche market, but still you can now reach that niche market because that niche traveler would literally write in the LLM, I need a 1-bedroom apartment, budget very close to this conference venue I'm going to, best internet, and I don't like heights. And that the I don't like heights part is something that the LLM already knows about them because they've chatted with them for a long time. So it would pick something on a lower floor. So that's, you need to make this matching between the perfect niche of travelers, for whom your property is perfect, and describe it for them. And that's how you get the bookings.
Opinion question for both of you, which is, I know what I think, but between Google, which is, it's making very clear with this sort of new release, hey, we're not going to let ChatGPT win the travel game. We're still out there. And we're still planning on going up against them. I'm curious if you think there's going to be a clear winner. So does Google's meta search capability and the wealth of information that they have and that they hold, because they're connected with the OTAs, because they've historically had access to all of that inventory, even if it's not necessarily through the direct booking channels, they know it exists, does that outweigh ChatGPT or OpenAI or any other new AI platform that might come on the scene? Does that outweigh the impartiality and, as you mentioned, Boris, some of that additional information that they might have, right? So are you afraid of heights, or do you not like spicy food, so I'm never going to recommend a certain restaurant to you when you're traveling? Let's take all those things into account. Who do you think is going to come out on top? Leo, I'll let you go first, and then we'll let Boris decimate you with the truth.
Yeah. So I'm a man on the street with an opinion, right? That on this matter, fully. I'm the guy asking for faster horses instead of cars here, right? And I'm just enjoying the ride. But I would say that I actually don't think there will be one clear winner. But I think if there was to be one clear winner, it would be Google, based on history and the last 25, 30 years of their growth. They have the advantage, as you said. They have the pre-existing relationships. They have that understanding of the buying patterns of individuals, which is so important here, because we're talking about e-commerce, right? Effectively, aren't we? It's like, how do I get this product in the hand of the consumer fastest and make sure that I win? So yeah, I wouldn't bet against Google. And, I use Gemini more than I use anything else. Why? Because I'm also using Gmail and Chrome, and it's a natural navigation for me as well. So even though my behavior is changing as we go into this AI search mode, I'm still falling into the old patterns of the bits that I liked previously. So I think that also gives them a competitive advantage. But my gut tells me there'll be 2 or 3, 4 big players dominating. I'm
going to jump in, and then I'll let Boris tell us who's right, because I'm going to completely disagree with you for a change.
Love it.
I actually think the total opposite. So I have ChatGPT, a professional business subscription. It integrates with my Gmail. It integrates with my Slack. So for business purposes, it even reads through all of my historical emails. So when I get an email from a client that's asking a question that I've answered 25 times, it already crafts an answer for me that is in my style based on historical answers, or it loops through Slack to find the right answers. So I don't necessarily think that gives them an advantage as long as Google continues to integrate. If Google were to say, sorry, we're not integrating with you guys anymore because you're a competitor, which I don't see them doing, but could happen. I think the other key point for me is the impartiality, or perceived impartiality, of something like an OpenAI or another type of AI tool that isn't getting paid for what they're recommending you. So especially when it goes from meta search and here's some options to saying, this is the one that I recommend for you, or here are 2 or 3 options that I think you would really enjoy. That's where it crosses the line into needing that impartiality for me. So, Boris, I'm curious what your professional AI opinion is.
Oh, I'm on the spot here. I have to decide who's right. Yeah, look, I mean, that's a tough one. I also don't think there's going to be one clear winner out of the whole story. And by the way, Leo, your stance is backed by Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett made a significant investment into Google. Warren Buffett is not someone who invests in tech stocks generally, so that's a very clear signal that he sees something in Google for the long run. So he's not worried about Google. Let's just put it this way. Now, on the other hand, I haven't used Google search in close to 1 year. My default search engine on my browser is not Google, and the only time I need Google for its search capabilities, I have Gmail and all that, but for search is when I need to find the URL of a specific website. It's a second faster to type this into Google with a keyword than to go through the perplexity thinking process, which is my default search engine. So the way these AI tools in a very short period of time, the way they've managed to intervene in my routine, in everything I do, in all my workflows. And Sarah, you just mentioned that everything, ChatGPT is connected to pretty much everything that you do. That's a very deep embedding into our lives. And I think because of that, the winners are going to be the ChatGPTs of the future, plus a new device, a new interface, something that we haven't seen yet, and something that will become part of our daily lives, such as our cell phones have become. I do believe this is coming soon. So, I don't know. I guess I'll go with Sarah, maybe slightly. Yeah, I want to be politically correct here. So
You've made it. You've made the right choice. I think everyone at home probably agrees with you as well.
I wanted to thank you, Boris. And I think maybe just as a wrap, curious on if you had to give us 3 or 4 things of, as an operator, this is what is coming for you and what you need to do to prepare for the eventuality that is going to be AI powered travel and bookings. What are some of those things that operators can do that are practical to start preparing now?
sure thing. So first of all, work on your brand. Second of all, work on all of your assets. That means the direct booking website, but not just that. Make sure that everything is consistent across Google Maps, Apple Maps, OpenStreetMaps. Have you guys heard about OpenStreetMaps? I no, right? Yeah, but OpenStreetMaps is used by a lot of machines and tools instead of the more expensive Google Maps. So you need to be on there as well. Make sure that there's consistency across your brand. Make sure you collect all the possible data regarding your brand. That includes also guest reviews. Build up your own guest database as well. And so I would say that's 2, and then 3. Keep an eye out for new products and services that come out to the market that enable you to distribute directly. And let's stop thinking about direct bookings as the bookings that go through my direct booking website. No, I mean, even these days, operators, they get direct bookings via phone calls, right? This will happen the same way via chatbots, LLMs, and different channels. Some of them not available yet, but will become available very shortly. So let's get the whole direct bookings and direct booking movement a little bit outside of the website and think globally how we can attract the multiple ways that we'll have to attract guests directly and become independent of intermediaries.
Boris, fantastic. We could talk all day. We're going to have you back on, so we will talk again. But thanks for coming on and sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you very much for having me. Hope this was interesting for you guys and for the listeners.
It absolutely was. It absolutely was. Cheers, buddy. Thanks, Boris.
Soon. Bye.
Well, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
I know. What a guy. I love Boris. I love his energy. I love his opinions. I always find he brings something different to the table, and he's always kind of scares me a little bit with some of his AI predictions and knowledge, but so far a lot of them have been fairly spot on. So let's see. If it's really 6 months out, I can't wait to have my next trip not planned by me and take me 12 hours to do and looking at all the options, but have OpenAI do everything for me and suggest all of my favorite restaurants and things that I'm going to like, and then give me the best rate. Let's hope it's true.
It's so exciting. I agree. What a great time to be in travel, and what a great time to be analyzing distribution. Sarah, buddy. A lot of fun seeing you, my friend. What's the weekend going to bring you?
Well, weekend is amazing. As many of our listeners across the pond will know, next week is Thanksgiving, which means that this weekend is Friendsgiving. So I host an annual Friendsgiving. It's going to be an absolute chaotic event because I have a table that seats 4 people. I can squeeze 2 extra chairs around the table, maybe, and there's 12 of us for Friendsgiving dinner. So there's going to be some Japanese style dining around the coffee table, but it's going to be amazing. We always have a great time, and everybody brings something different. I'm doing my mom's famous mac and cheese, so hopefully everyone will enjoy it. And then we'll be in a food coma, and then surprise, surprise, I'm going to a techno concert afterwards. Mac and cheese. Techno out till 4 a.m. It's going to be great.
This sums you up, I think. It's like folksy, homely, mac and cheese, techno rave all night. Great. Okay, that's the perfect description of Sarah DuPre if anyone's ever trying to get to know her. Good. Well, I respect the fact that you didn't ask me because you knew I wouldn't have been able to come. Obviously, you would have asked me if you'd have thought
Of course.
But never mind. Oh, well, enjoy that. Anyone that's in and around London, there's an STR meetup on Thanksgiving for the UK non-celebrating Thanksgiving crew. Reach out to me if you want to come. We've got about 75 people coming to a pub in central London, so that should be a lot of fun. So please come and join us. And look, if you've enjoyed today's show, I know Sarah and I have. Boris is just brilliant, so we've really enjoyed it. Look, if you've enjoyed it, please hit like, share, subscribe in all the usual social places. It's the new show, episode 2, The Check-In. So you can find us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. So thanks very much, and we'll see you again next week.